Greetings, everyone. I hope this message finds each and every one of you in well wishes, health, and honor of Abba Father, the Most High Living God, in His Most Son's precious name, Yeshua, Jesus Christ. I'm here because I feel led to share my story where I feel it applies to so many of God's people, and I'm feeling led to share it. The story is, I call it Little Girl with the Light. And ever since I was a little girl, let me start with that. First of all, let me start with a prayer. Father, may the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable in your sight, my Father, my Master, my Redeemer, my Healer. Amen. Take every bit of me out of this, God, and all of you. Speak to your people. In your Son's most precious name I pray. Amen. So it starts with me being a little girl, reading the Bible all the time. I was picked on a lot, but I used to go in my closet and cry all the time. And my sisters wouldn't play with me. I had two sisters. They only wanted to play with other children. I got picked on a lot when I was a little girl. And my mom, she used to send me to my room like all the time for me to deal with it, because my sisters, they didn't want to play with me. And I'd go in my room and I'd cry because my mom didn't want to see me crying in front of her, so she'd send me away. So, no judgment, just the story. So I'd go in my closet and I would cry, and one day I went in my closet, I was crying, and Yeshua showed up. And I looked and I said, Jesus. I said, they don't like me, Jesus. They don't like you either. Because I remember seeing the movie, The Christ, and the movie Jesus, when they hung him on the cross. And so many people didn't like him. And I was like, Jesus, they didn't like you. They don't like me either. We could be friends. You could be my friend. And he says, now, child. Now. Why are you crying? And I was like, they don't want to play with me. And Jesus is like, come on, come with me. So he put me on his shoulder and he took me out into these clouds. It's like the heavens, like the mist of the air. We were flying through the air. I was on his shoulder. I lived in Florida at the time. When I was growing up until about, I'll say the second grade, and the third grade, we moved to California. But the dream, in this dream, I lived in Florida because I was a little girl. I never heard of California. I never been to California. But I heard Jesus say, what do you see? And I just saw like water, a beautiful green trees. They're like far out into the distance, far out into the distance. But it was just so beautiful from my left all the way around to the right. It was just absolutely beautiful. And I told Jesus what it is that I saw. And then he says, now what do you see? And it's like my eyes blinked, like a cloud went over it and erased what I just saw and showed me a totally different picture. And this picture was now of what I know to be the Golden Gate Bridge. And on the Golden Gate Bridge, I was looking in this car, and this guy, the bridge began to shake very, very, drastically began to shake. And this driver was this man, his wife, and their baby in the back seat. The baby was about 18 months old. And the guy, when the bridge started shaking, people started running down the bridge. It was tons of people screaming and running down the bridge because the bridge was snapping in half. And next thing you know, the guy jumps out the car and he looks up at the crowd, and he looks back in the car at his wife, and then he looks back down the way, and he takes off running. And the lady screams, I don't remember his name because I was so young when this happened, but she yelled, don't leave us. She yelled his name and she said, don't leave us. And he turned back around, looked at her, and he saw more people screaming and running. And he just got scared and he said, I'm sorry. And then he took off running. So she grabbed the baby out of the back, out of the seat, pulled the baby over the seats to her, jumped out of the car. She jumped out of the car. She could barely run a second. and she tried to jump over the bridge, but it was too late. The bridge completely like snapped in half, and it even caught the guy who was running from his family. He went into the water as well. So many people went into the water. They passed away. And I remember from there, God walked me out into these heavens. It was basically in heaven, but it was like this world stage. And to this day, because I told the story before, I'm sure that this word comes from the heavens, the world stage. And as I'm looking, I'm saying, God, I want to work for you. Give me a job to do. Please, God, give me. He's like, no, now, my child, you're not ready. No, child, you're not ready. So I said, I saw these angels coming up to whisper something really fast in God's ear. And I kept jumping up and down and saying, God, use me. God, let me do it. He kept saying, no, child, you're not ready. No, my child, you're not ready. So these more angels came by, and they were just like, they looked like fairies, but they were like angels, and they were whispering in God's ear, like with these beaks or horns that they had as from their mouths. And God would send them out in different places of the earth to go do his work. And as I kept begging him, and he finally said, come with me. And he took me on this stage, and we went from the heavens around this veil. And the veil, it was so dark. And then I saw like angels with different lights, strobe lights, flashlights, street lights, different color lights, just shining out into the darkness, into the outer darkness. So God walks me all the way to the end of this stage. And those angels came back again and started whispering stuff in his ear. And he says, I'll be back. Hold this. And he hands me a flashlight to hold. But before that, I passed up this big strobe light. And it had pearls on it and rubies and emeralds and diamonds. And it was like different types of rhinestones that I've never seen in my life with the most beautiful glow. And I was just so mesmerized by it. And I got to this other angel. And this other angel was holding an arc light, like an arched light. And I know that now to be Michael the Archangel. And when God told me to stand there, he handed me a flashlight. And he gave me a flashlight. And he said, hold it into the darkness. And I held the light into the darkness. And as I held it into the darkness, God was like, I'll be back. And I was like, no, wait, God, wait. And God just disappeared. He didn't walk away. He didn't run away. He just faded out, disappeared. And when he disappeared, I was holding the light, and I looked over at the angel with the arch light, and I was like, wait, my arm is getting tired. I'm gonna go take a break. And the angel looked at me like, no emotion, because they don't show emotions. They don't speak with their mouth. They speak with their eyes. And the angel just looked at me, no judgment, just looked at me, just looked at me. I can't even say what the words were because it was no judgment. And when I put the lights down, I put my arm down, and I said, I'm going to take a break. And I told the archangel, I'm going to take a break. If God come back, tell him I took a break. And I started walking towards that light that I saw when I came in with the strobe lights and the pearls and the beautiful yellow emeralds and diamonds and things I've never seen in my life. And like just the most beautiful shine and glows from them. And all of a sudden I heard these sirens go off. They were like the loudest sirens. And I was like, I got scared, and I began to run back towards my post. And as I began to run back towards my post, I held the flashlight out, and it wasn't catching the people, because what would happen was when I would hold the flashlight out, it would catch little specks of light. They would go into the flashlight. These specks of light that would go into the flashlight, they were falling into the light when God left me there with the light. But when he came back, they were falling. They wouldn't even, it's like the light wouldn't catch them. And they were falling past the light. And God was like, little girl, where are you? And I was like, I was trying to get back to God. And I saw God finally when I got back to my post. And I was like, God, I'm sorry, I went to go take a break. He says, but where were you? He said, you asked me for one job. And I told you that you weren't ready. Where were you, little girl? Where were you? And I was like, God, I'm sorry. I went to go take a break. And he was like, you went walking down towards those lights, didn't you? And I was like, I went to go take a break, God. I was like, I went to go take a break. And I looked over, and the archangel was just looking, but kind of minding his own business and still looking out. But you could tell it was like paying attention. And when I saw the look on God's face, God seemed so distraught, so sad, so heartbroken. And I never want to see God like that ever again. And I know that God says no man has seen his face, but God says no man, and I'm a woman, so I don't know what that means, if that counts. But I saw God's face, or the face that he showed me that he wanted me to see. Because I don't know how many faces God has. I just know that he's God. He's capable of anything. So the persona, the image that he wanted me to see appeared like his face is what I saw. But he showed me sadness in his God man-made form, sadness coming from him. And he said, little girl, that light that you were holding, I heard what you said. You don't want to hold that little rinky-dink light. Why would God leave you with this little rinky-dink light? He said, little girl, that light that you have, he said, that light that I gave you to hold was one of the most important lights in all of my kingdom, because that was a light that leads my people's souls into the heavens. And I felt so rotten, so horrible, so sad. I felt like, wow, this little flashlight was doing all that. Like, how did I miss that? It just looked like a regular flashlight. And everyone else had all these fancy, really cool lights. And first of all, I feel that it means that looks are deceiving, and don't let the things of this world distract you from your love for God and the task that God has called you on. It may not look like you have a big task. You may just be someone just giving one person a message at your job or on the streets, or someone that walks by, or give to the homeless. I don't know what your light is. It could be several lights, but don't feel like your light is not good enough, because your light is. And I feel that it's important that whatever your light is, whatever God gave you to do, shine it, do it. Shine it, do it. Be on your post, because God needs us. And nothing hurts God more than seeing his people fall into outer darkness, because from what I gathered from the ending of that is that he said to me, he said, once a soul is lost forever. That's what he said to me. So from there, I woke up from the vision. So I just wanted to share that and encourage anyone out there today that just may feel like God is not using you, or you're not good enough. You are. Don't let the things of this world make you feel like you're not, because you are. In God's eyes, you're everything. You are God's light, and God needs your light like never before. And that's going to come from the greatness within you. So whatever your odds are, take it to God. Whatever your battles, your struggles are, take it to God, and God will see you through. Nubian Divine.